That red oil light on your dash was never a warning, it's an obituary. By the time it glows, the last of your oil pressure is already gone, and the bearings deep inside that engine have been grinding on borrowed time for miles. Here's the part nobody says out loud. The people who built your car trained you to wait for that light, and my own truck is parked outside the shop right now with 307,000 miles on it, because I never have. It's a 2002 Tundra, original engine. The entire difference between that truck and the ones getting hauled off at 180,000 is one habit that cost me about $10 a month. A habit the dealership will never mention, because their whole service model depends on you not having it. By the end of this video, you'll have it too, and every mile you drive this week is quietly deciding which of those two trucks your car becomes. Let's start with what actually changed under the hood, because this is not a story about old-fashioned virtue. Modern engines burn oil on purpose. Chasing fuel economy numbers, manufacturers lowered the tension on the piston rings and switched to watery thin oils. Less drag on the cylinder walls looks great on the window sticker. And it lets a little oil slip past into the combustion chamber every hour the engine runs, where it burns away without a trace. That burn rate only climbs with age. Rings wear, seals shrink, and the engine that sipped nothing at 40,000 miles is quietly drinking at 140. Here's what disappearing oil does to what's left behind. Your engine holds 5 or 6 quarts, and every quart that vanishes makes the survivors work harder, running hotter, breaking down faster, and thinning out the protective film that keeps the crankshaft from touching its bearings. Run 2 quarts low, which is exactly where most neglected engines live, and a third of the system is gone. No light, no chime, no change in how the car drives, right up until the day it changes everything. The same silent arithmetic is running in your cooling system, where a low overflow tank means a hot spot cooking a head gasket you'll never see, and in your tires, where a few missing pounds of pressure grind away tread and fuel economy on every trip. 1 slow leak, 3 systems, 0 warnings. And here's the part that should make you angry. The manufacturers know all of this because they wrote it down. GM's own guidance calls a quart of oil every 2,000 miles acceptable. BMW told Consumer Reports their engines may use up to a quart every 750 miles and still be within spec. Toyota puts my own truck's engine family at a quart every 1,200 miles before anyone at a dealership will raise an eyebrow. Hold those numbers next to the 10,000-mile oil change intervals printed in the very same manuals. A car burning at the rate they call normal can be down 3, 4, 5 quarts before the schedule says it's due back in the shop. The oil pan doesn't hold 5 spare quarts. The math doesn't survive, and they publish both halves of it anyway. They engineered the consumption in for the fuel economy ratings, wrote a spec that excuses it, stretched the service intervals that used to catch it, and some of the German makes went one step further and deleted the dipstick entirely. Replaced it with a sensor and a line in a menu screen. Think back, because plenty of you remember when this habit wasn't a habit at all. It was a service. Every fill-up at a full-service station came with a kid in a uniform, checking the oil while the tank ran. Engines rarely ran dry in those days, not because drivers were more careful, but because the level got read every single week whether the owner thought about it or not. Self-serve killed that check through the 70s and 80s, and nothing replaced it. The quick lube era finished the job by stretching the 3,000-mile oil change to 5, then 7.5, then 10,000, and every stretch widened the stretch of road where nobody on earth looks at that dipstick. 2 safety nets, removed a generation apart, neither one ever announced. The consumption spec got written after the nets were already gone. Nobody walks you through that math at delivery because it only fails one person, and it's the one holding the keys. When the engine gives up 2 years out of warranty, the spec sheet doesn't take the blame. Your invoice does. And the showroom is conveniently 30 feet away. That's the paperwork side of it. What I want to show you next is what an engine that lived a quart and a half low actually looks like when it comes apart, because once you've seen it, you'll be checking your oil in the parking lot on the way home. When an engine runs low, the oil that's left doesn't just do more work. It dies faster while doing it. Heat is the killer. With less oil sharing the load, what remains runs hotter, and hot oil oxidizes. It thickens, darkens, and starts baking onto the metal as varnish. Varnish becomes sludge. Sludge plugs the small drain passages, and starving parts start touching parts. The bearings go first. Those are soft metal shells riding on a film of oil thinner than a human hair, and when that film thins out under heat and load, the crankshaft starts wiping them away a little at a time. The first sound you'll ever hear from it is a knock, and by then, the engine is already gone. The cooling side runs the same play with higher stakes. When the level in that overflow tank drops, the coolant disappears first from the highest point in the system. the top of the cylinder head, which is exactly where the engine runs hottest. A head with an air pocket doesn't overheat evenly. It grows a hot spot, and aluminum, which is what nearly every modern head and a good share of the blocks are made from, warps when one corner runs hotter than the rest. The old iron engines most of you learned on would shrug off an overheat or two and ask for more. The aluminum engine in your driveway gets one. Warp that head a few thousandths, the gasket loses its clamp, and combustion gas starts pumping into the cooling system, pushing out more coolant, feeding the hot spot, and turning a slow leak into a spiral. And the whole thing traces back to a low mark on a plastic tank that nobody looked at for 6 months. I've had the valve covers off hundreds of these over the years. Same engines, similar mileage, and I can sort them into 2 piles before the drain plug is even out. The topped-up ones come apart wearing a light honey-colored film, and you can still read the factory crosshatch on the cylinder walls at 200,000 miles. The run-low ones come apart black. Varnish on every surface, sludge packed into the drainback holes, bearings with copper showing through where silver should be. Same factory, same design, and the only difference between the 2 piles is whether somebody spent 2 minutes a month with the dipstick. The story goes deeper than the surfaces too. On the topped-up engines, the cam lobes still carry their factory polish and the timing chain sits snug in its guides. On the run-low ones, the lobes are scuffed dull where the oil film gave up under heat, and the chain guides, plastic parts bathing in oil that turned abrasive, are grooved halfway to failure. None of that ever shows on a gauge. All of it shows on a tear-down bench, years after the missing quart that started it. Here's what that difference costs in dollars, from one driveway I know personally. A retired carpenter out in Spokane runs a 2003 Tacoma that started drinking a quart every 1,200 miles once it crossed 180,000. By his own manufacturer's math, that's within spec. Nothing to repair, nothing covered. He checks it on the first Saturday of every month and tops it from a quart he keeps behind the seat, and that truck just rolled past 290,000 on its original engine. He didn't learn the habit from an owner's manual. He learned it the way most of his generation did, from a father who treated the first Saturday of the month like a standing appointment. That quart behind the seat gets replaced 9 or 10 times a year, and he calls it the cheapest insurance he's ever been sold, the only policy he's ever owned that pays out every single month. The same engine, in the same year of truck, came through the shop after its owner trusted the 10,000-mile schedule and a dashboard that stayed quiet. It ran itself dry between services, and the replacement quote came in anywhere from $4,500 to $7,000, depending on used, rebuilt, or new. One truck spends $10 a month. The other one is a payment plan or a trade-in, and the carpenter didn't do anything the other owner was told to do. That's the point. Neither of them was told. How many miles are on your car right now? Drop the number in the comments. This audience runs higher mileage than any comment section on YouTube, and that is not an accident. Here's the scale of what's riding on this. AAA ran the numbers and found that 1 in 3 American drivers, 64 million people, could not cover an unexpected repair without going into debt, and their average surprise repair bill lands between $500 and $600. On a working salary, that's a bad month. On a fixed income, that's the conversation nobody wants to have. And the failures we're talking about here don't stop at 600. Quick reminder, if this is the kind of thing that keeps your car out of that statistic, hit the subscribe button. It's free, and it keeps these videos coming. That's the damage and the bill. Here's the $10 habit that prevents all of it. And notice it takes less time than pumping a tank of gas. The habit is a first Saturday walk-around. Once a month, same day every month before the engine's been started. 10 minutes, 3 checks, done in the driveway with the coffee still warm. Check 1 is the oil and cold matters. Park on level ground and do this before the day's first start, so everything has drained back into the pan and the stick tells the truth. Pull the dipstick, wipe it clean, seat it fully, and pull it again. You want the level at or near the top mark. If it's down, add slowly, 1/3 of a quart at a time, rechecking as you go, because overfilling causes its own problems, and the goal is the full mark, not past it. Keep 1 quart in the trunk, the grade printed right on your oil cap. $8 to $12 at any parts store, and it lives next to the jack until it's needed. While that stick is in your hand, read more than the level, because the oil on it has more to tell you. And this is the part that separates a mechanic's monthly check from everyone else's. Color alone doesn't condemn oil. It darkens in normal service. So what you're reading for is change from your car's own normal. And 3 readings in particular. A milky coffee with cream film on the stick or on the underside of the oil cap means coolant is finding its way into the oil. That is the earliest head gasket warning that exists anywhere on the car, months ahead of any gauge. And it's worth a shop visit this week, not this month. A strong gasoline smell on the stick means fuel is washing past the rings, which is common on cars that only ever make short trips and never fully warm up. Caught early, the cure can be as simple as a proper highway run. Uncaught, that fuel thins the oil and quietly undoes its protection. And the reading that should genuinely worry you is a level that's rising. Oil doesn't multiply. A dipstick that reads higher this month than last means fuel or coolant is moving in, and something upstream needs attention now. Nobody's dashboard reports any of that. A 30-second read once a month does. Check 2 is coolant, and this one is eyes only. Find the plastic overflow tank. Read the level against the min and max lines molded into the side, and never, ever open a radiator cap or pressurized reservoir on an engine that's even slightly warm. That system holds scalding liquid under pressure, and the overflow marks tell you everything you need without touching a thing. Sitting between the lines, you're done in 10 seconds. Below the minimum, top the overflow tank with the coolant your manual names. And make a note, because coolant doesn't burn off like oil. A tank that keeps dropping month after month is a leak announcing itself early, while it's still a hose clamp instead of a head gasket. Check 3 is tire pressure, and the number you want is on the sticker inside the driver's door jamb, not the number stamped on the tire sidewall. The sidewall figure is the tire's maximum, not your car's setting, and running it there wears the center of the tread while beating up the ride. Door jamb number, all 4 corners, checked cold. There's gas money hiding in this check too. The Department of Energy puts the penalty at 0.2% of your fuel economy for every single pound of pressure you're running low. Let all 4 corners drift 8 pounds down through a cold winter, and you're paying a quiet tax on every tank. And don't count on the tire light to catch it, because that system isn't required to say a word until a tire has lost a full quarter of its pressure. The warning is calibrated to keep you off the evening news, not to protect your tread or your gas money. By the time it glows, you've been paying the tax for months. 10 minutes, and you're done for the month. Here's the part I really want you to take, though, because the topping up is only half of why mechanics own cars refuse to die. The real secret is that a monthly reading turns you into the sensor your car never came with. Check that dipstick every month, and you'll know your engine's normal. This one uses half a quart a month, that one uses nothing. The month the number suddenly doubles, you've caught a developing problem while it's still a cheap conversation. The overflow tank that needs a splash every single month has told you about a leak no dashboard light will mention until the temperature needle is already climbing. The habit isn't just maintenance. It's the earliest warning system money can buy, and it costs $10. Give that warning system a memory while you're at it. A dollar notebook in the glove box, 3 columns, date, mileage, what you added. 6 months in, that notebook reads like a medical chart for your car. A line that says half a quart a month, steady for a year, tells a tech more about your engine's health than any scan tool. And the month the number doubles, you know it the same week it happens instead of a year and a rebuild later. That notebook earns its keep one more way. The day you ever do sell or trade the car, a handwritten log in the glove box is proof the car lived the topped-up life. And proof like that puts real money back across the table. Let's put the 2 paths side by side, because this is the whole video in one picture. Path 1 is the walk-around, about $120 a year in oil and pocket change, 10 minutes a month, and an engine that stays in the honey-colored pile with a real shot at the number in this video's title. Path 2 is trusting the spec sheet and the silent dashboard. That path runs through the overheating repair. A head gasket job lands anywhere from $1,500 to $2,600 depending on the engine and who does the work. And if the oil runs out first, it ends at the engine bill you heard earlier from Spokane. And past the repair bills sits the outcome that actually matters. Plenty of you have told me the plan in your driveway is simple. That car is meant to outlast your driving years, paid off, done with payments for good. Here's what's actually waiting at the end of Path 2, and I want you to see the whole room before you're standing in it. The day the engine dies, that car's trade value dies with it. A dealer pays scrap money for a vehicle that doesn't run, no matter how straight the body is. And the replacement conversation starts at today's numbers, which are worse than most of you think. Experian's latest figures put the average new car payment at $770 a month and the average used at $531, signed for terms now stretching close to 6 years. Nearly 1 new car loan in 5 runs over $1,000 a month. $770 a month for 6 years on a pension. That is the machine a neglected dipstick feeds, and the finance office knows exactly how cars arrive at its door. $10 a month is how the plan wins. Your mechanic never waits for the light, and starting this Saturday, neither do you. One more thing before you go. That oil spec isn't the only convenient number in your owner's manual. The transmission under your car is full of fluid the factory calls lifetime, and whose lifetime they're counting is a story of its own. If you want the truth about the lifetime fluid lie before it costs you a transmission, click the video on the left. I'll see you there.